guys, welcome back to another video. So today we are going to be starting off in Pixquare rather than Procreate or Clip Studio Paint today because I wanted to do some pixel art to decorate basically my profile, I guess, or spruce up my profile in Artfight. So I am going to be using Pixquare, which is primarily an app used to make pixel art, and I believe it's on the iPad, which is very fun to have pixel art to be kind of like on the go alongside with, like, if you're somebody who uses your iPad a lot, I find this is like a wonderful app to use if you are wanting to do anything like pixel art related, I guess. But I will be showing you some other methods later on in the video as well. If like the iPad is not like a tool you use, you can definitely do pixel art in like Paint Tool SI, like I used to do a long time ago, alongside with using Clip Studio Paint and some other art programs as well. So the first one we're going to be working on is more like an asset, not specifically to like the profile for Artfight. And I've talked about Artfight very briefly, but I don't know how to explain it in a concise way without delving too deeply into it, other than I guess it's kind of like a large art gifting event where you can draw other people's OCs and, you know, other people can draw your OCs, and in turn you earn points for your respective teams, and in the end whoever has the most points, like, that team wins. But for the most part it's mostly just about, you know, giving art to other people and potentially receiving art as well. It's not like an obligation or anything, nor should you really be expecting to get art back. It's just more fun, I guess, in a way that if you just think about it as gifting art to other people. But the thing that I wanted to work on first before we hop into some other pixel art is borders. So one thing that I did last year, which I'll show a little bit later, and I'll show like a demo of what I'm using this border for, is the fact that once you complete like a piece, oftentimes it requires you to post kind of like a smaller cropped version of your artwork to use as kind of like the thumbnail. And I've seen a lot of people make their own borders and like little decorations to either celebrate the occasion. Maybe it's like showing which team you're a part of, or maybe you want to put the year that the art was made, since Artfight has been going on for quite a long time now. So last year for 2025, I did end up making a little clover border that was very simple, but I think it's still very cute to have something to differentiate my kind of like submissions for 2025 versus like 2026. Hence why this one I wanted to do like a different type of border and then add the year at some point. And one thing I really like about Pixquare, because I'm going to talk about this app like every so often, is the fact that there's like an outline tool. Outlining sometimes like such a pain, and Pixquare makes it like super easy. There's like another feature that I'll talk about a little bit later, which is probably like another reason why I do enjoy doing pixel art in Pixquare if I can. But there's like some tools I prefer to work quicker, like using a keyboard at times. So you're gonna see me kind of like flip-flop between the two whenever I work on pixel art. I should have probably also said at the very beginning that the reason why I'm using pixel art for the majority of like the assets for today is that there's so many different art programs, as well as you can also do pixel art with just like a mouse. You don't have to have like a drawing tablet, so I feel like it's a little bit more accessible if you just want to do very simple kind of like cute artwork very quickly to decorate your page. So this is kind of like the purpose of the borders here. I'm gonna pretend like as if Kaisen is someone else's OC and I finished drawing an artwork of Kaisen for that person. I'm basically gonna blow this up, probably cropping towards the face so that you can't see the entire image, so it doesn't really spoil the person who's receiving it. And I'm gonna pop that image right under our borders, and you can kind of see that with the white outline, hopefully the border stands out enough, and then I can use that for all the artwork going forward for this year's Artfight. So you probably will see it a little bit in the future. Also, kind of like a side tangent, I've been also using Pixquare to help me work on some patterns or some little cute pixel art so that I can translate it into some cross-stitching, because I've been kind of getting back into cross-stitching. It was like a hobby I picked up a few years ago and then I stopped because it really hurt my hands. But I ended up picking it up again because I've been seeing people make cross-stitch little keychains with this kind of like stiffer Ada cross-stitching kind of fabric plastic sheet. So this is kind of what the Litwick looks like. I'm not really fond of it because the colors are kind of like all over the place. So I'm gonna do another backside, and maybe I'll do a video talking about how you can use pixel art and do very simple cross stitching and stuff. But for now, let's move on to our second thing that we can use to kind of like spruce up our little Artfight profile. So starting off with another canvas, but we're gonna go a little bit more thinner and narrow, but very wide. So the idea for this one is mostly to do kind of like breaks in a page, but make it cute. It's kind of like my idea. So what I like to do, or what I did last year as well, is that I made it kind of like a pixel sparkle. I don't know how to describe it. It's basically to separate sections in your page horizontally, kind of as like a flat border almost on one side. Does that make sense? I'm not too sure. You'll probably see it in action a little bit later, but it's kind of like helping me separate sections on my profile, and just kind of like a cute way to actually add a little bit of decoration here and there. So I forgot that in Pixquare, you can actually see the time that I'm working on this as well as the date. So this was actually before the theme or the teams were revealed. So I'm on Team Tragedy, and partly is because I resonate a little bit more with like sappy, sad kind of feelings at times. Most of the times, like sappy songs. I like tragedy, I like angst, I like all that stuff. But another reason is because I just love that color. I love turquoise or like blue-green kind of color, so I kind of wanted to match everything else towards that a little bit. But because I made this before the team reveals, I am gonna have a little bit of like pink and purple peeping through here and there. But luckily enough, when I made like my border for this year, it was kind of like already in that wheelhouse, because like I said, I'm already a fan of that color scheme, so it was kind of like a no-brainer for me. But for these, I guess I didn't really talk about it in the borders one as well, is that in Pixquare, there is a symmetry tool, and for the borders, I ended up splitting it so that I would have four quadrants, so that I can work on four corners all at the same time. And then this one, I kind of worked in just with the one split down right in the middle so that we can have even signs. I ended up not making it like 100% symmetrical, which I ended up forgetting to crop a little bit more on the right side, because I wanted to have it so that I could potentially just keep copying and pasting to make the line as long as I want by having the pattern still be able to repeat. So that's kind of the reason why the left side looks different than the right side. But I'm going to be showing what that looks like a little bit later. I think if you can, crop as close as you can to your pixel image, like where you've drawn, so that you can reduce the amount of kind of like dead space around it. But moving on to our third thing before I show you guys what I'm doing with all these on my actual profile, is making little kind of like headshots or profile shots or whatever you want to call it for your OCs. So already on my page, I have kind of like my chibi emotes that I did like a while back lined up, and I have my own chibi gesturing to it, saying basically like meet my OCs. But I thought it'd be cute to make like little pixel portraits. Now I'm not too sure if I'm going to be able to do all of my OCs, because I have half the mind to actually redo this one of Selwyn at some point. We'll see if I end up keeping it, but for the most part, I thought it'd be cute to just do like little pixel headshots so that I can keep them on my profile, just as a way to low-key decorate. And I believe you can also like hyperlink images, I think. So I could potentially make these profiles somewhere on my page, and then you can click on their little profile and it'll probably lead to like their reference sheets or whatever. There probably is a way to do that. I didn't really look into it too much, since I've only been like somewhat dabbling into making my Artfight profile a little bit more uniform, I guess, or like the aesthetic that I kind of want. Because I feel like there's so many different ways that you can approach making your profile from what I've seen from last year. I haven't really delved into looking too much on what people are doing this year, since I haven't really had the time. But you can definitely do, like, instead of pixel art, you can do just illustrations and drawings to decorate your page. If you like that transparent look, make sure to save it without a background color and as a PNG, and then you can upload that a little bit later to decorate your page. You can definitely do like animations or like GIFs and stuff, which I'll show you guys a little bit later as well, because I wanted to add a little bit of like moving elements if I can here and there, but I don't want to like overwhelm the page either. So this one I ended up doing of Selwyn first, who is going to be on my Artfight profile. So thank you guys for wanting me to put him up at some point. He might be the only OC that might be added. I think if you saw last Wednesday's video, you would have saw, or it was this Wednesday. Yes, this Wednesday's video, you would have saw that I ended up making 2 more OCs, which are going to be part of Selwyn's world. Right now, I have one of the OCs kind of like more solidified, but I would like to make like a reference sheet video for the both of them if I can next week. And if I can get that done, then they'll most likely be on my Artfight page as well. So apologies if I don't get them up, nor if I don't get, I guess, like Arakan and Anka as well on there, because I'm running out of time and I'm trying to finish as much things as I can before July hits, because a lot of my downtime, I think I'm going to dedicate it mostly towards Artfight as kind of like my recreational drawing that I like to do to kind of like take a break and everything. And then I'm going to be working on other stuff in the background as much as I can so that I can keep a good balance. So for the most part, Artfight is going to be a big focus for me in July. But talking a little bit more about I guess like the process here, I'm not very like proficient in pixel art. I just like kind of playing around and dabbling into it every so often. I know there's like a lot of things that you have to, you know, take in consideration when you're doing pixel art if you want it to read properly. But sometimes I just like the pixel aesthetic. So, you know, playing around, trying to put contrast. I know a lot of people like working with like limited color palettes, or like, you know, want to use divvying, or you don't want to have like certain pixels creating like a weird blockiness for the edges and stuff. I'm not really caring about that too much, so don't use a lot of my pixel art for reference or anything, because I feel like it's a very basic way, maybe that's the way to describe it. Like I'm much of a novice, I guess, when I'm working with pixel art, if anything. But for this one, I think it's like not really any different than when I'm working like with not pixel art, I guess. Line art is just if anything, I feel like it's harder for me sometimes when I'm doing pixel art. So oftentimes if I'm kind of like unsure on how to make the lines like clean enough, so such as the hair, I will end up just blocking it completely in one color, and we'll kind of like figure out the shapes, values, lines, adding more contrast, and kind of like flesh it out as we go rather than doing the lines. But things like the clothing and just like the general face shape and let's say like parts of the eyes and stuff, it was easier for me to keep it more simple. So I was able to use it, just kind of like use line art. But you can see like part of the sweater portion of like his cardigan. I ended up not doing like the ribbing and stuff with line art, because sometimes I do forget that when I do line work, instead of just like shading and fleshing things out slowly, kind of from general to specific, the lines just look a little bit too harsh, if anything. So that's probably another reason why I like kind of like fleshing out the hair in this way. So for the hair, I started with a base color, then I added our shadows. I kind of realized a little bit too late that the shadows were a little bit too dark, but in Pixquare, luckily they have a function that helps you replace like a very specific color, which I really like, because it doesn't require you to either like manually fill or have like, you know, separate layers for everything. As long as like this color is unique, that one color will change as like to basically whatever color you want it to. So for me, I was able to change the base color of Selwyn's hair to be a lot lighter, and I kept the shadow color basically quite dark, and then we're going to add in our highlights. I ended up adding a little bit of like a purple to the parts of the hair surrounding the face just to soften it a little bit. I'm always like torn whether or not I should airbrush to make like the hair and the skin kind of like have a softer look together. So in this one I didn't end up doing that, but later on we're going to do one more pixel art asset that I want to add to my page, and I am going to just like mess around a little bit more in that by just like, you know, seeing what looks right to me rather than trying to keep everything nice and consistent with pixel art. And to kind of give it a little bit more of like that profile, kind of not like a floating head, it's kind of like a framed item, I ended up making also a border around the entirety of Selwyn and leaving the background transparent so that it matches whatever, I guess, like of the interface that you're using. So in our case, I think Artfight is default, kind of like in dark mode, I think. So I will have kind of the background color of that behind both Selwyn and behind our frame. And I think it looks kind of cute like this. I did do a little bit of testing and just using the symmetry tool once again to kind of like buff out the frame to what we want it to look like. I will turn that off, write his name, and I think that's pretty much it for our little profile headshot framed character profile shot, I guess, of our OCs, because I think it's just fun to do, and it's just like a fun, cute thing to add alongside on kind of like your profile with your characters, and just like having them all displayed at once. But also, I think, like I mentioned earlier, you can have it hyperlinked with a link so that maybe if you like the character you see there, you can click on it. It goes like directly to the reference sheet, or like maybe you have like a toy house profile or something that has all your OC information. You can definitely do that as well. Not too sure if you guys can tell that I'm scatterbrained, but right now I'm going to show you guys very, very briefly on how I'm gonna like kind of like set up my page, because I did end up recording 2 different sessions. So this is kind of like what my page looked like from last year. I ended up taking out one little portion because I already made the asset for it like earlier. I just forgot to put it in, but that's not really the focus of the video. But you can see here where my attacks are. All of my attacks from last year have a nice matching border with all of them. So that's kind of like just a way for me to visually kind of like sort them. So moving forward, we're going to use the new frame. And if I participate next year, I'll do the same thing and make a new border. And speaking of last year, from what I remembered, I use, I think it's Imgur to upload basically my artwork or whatever I want to use like my assets to. And this is basically like a private page for me, so the public can't see it or anything like that, or at least I hope it isn't. And you can upload all your assets there. You can either like copy the address or like pop it into a new window, right click it, copy the image address, and you can add it right into your profile here. So there's a way for you to add images by using a URL. So that's kind of like the way that I'm doing it here. You can also change the width or the size of your assets here too. So for me, I ended up changing and aligning these like little sparkles to make like little separators in my profile page to separate my little welcome banner, separate my little card profile, which later on you're gonna see more of like my finished page, I believe, with like more of a cohesive color palette. And then I'm gonna add Selwyn's little profile picture right at the very bottom. I think it would be cute to have like all of my OCs lined up like there alongside with my little chibis, because I think visually it'll look very cute having them have basically matching like little profiles. But you can see I'm just like customizing with a bunch of like other things that I've had lying around, like my little logo, a little chibi of me right next to like my little hello at the very top. But if you know any other websites that can basically like host an image with like a image link, then you can just use that to kind of like decorate your page. I just recommend not using Discord. I believe a lot of people used to use it for a while, but Discord links like break, I believe, at some point. So they no longer get like archived, or like they're not saved there permanently. So if you use like a Discord link for your images and then put them onto your profile, at some point you're gonna see that little pixel thing that shows like, oh, there's no image here, so people can't really see it. But if you have recommendations of like other websites, do let me know. But I think I remember from last year that a lot of people use Imgur to do like, you know, adding pictures and assets and drawings and artwork to their profile page if you don't want to do like all the coding stuff, because I believe to do the coding you might have to have like the pro account, premium account, or like the paid version. I'm not too sure what they refer to it as, but yeah, moving along, I guess. So the last thing that I kind of wanted to add to my page at this moment, I might spruce up some other things now that I have some more ideas kind of like lingering in my brain, is kind of like a little gif of my OC Selwyn. Today's like very much Selwyn themed for the most part, but I wanted to have like some sort of like moving element to my page, because I don't really have any gifs or anything that are on my page, but I've seen like a lot of other people have like, I think they're from Tumblr probably, like the assets of like little stamps and like just random gifts that I think a lot of people have. So I wanted to make my own so that we can kind of customize it to whatever aesthetic that I want or of my OC. So my idea is to keep it very simple. I probably will end up editing it because the animation or like, you know, the sequence that I have for this one is not exactly great. There's like something I want to change very specifically, but the idea is to basically make him float, which is why the pose is kind of like not him standing on the ground or anything. I wanted to have a little bit of like some floating elements around him. And pretty much I'm going to show you guys also a way to make a GIF if you guys are not using something like Clip Studio Paint and you don't have access to like that animation function. There is a website that I used to use like a while back when I made my pixel animations in Paint Tool Sai for a while, and I feel like it usually works out pretty well, so I'm going to show you guys that. But first, let's finish the artwork. So For this one, I did mention like the previous Selwyn drawing that I was working on in Pixquare. I didn't do like an airbrushing or anything on like the hair to soften the face a little bit. This time I did end up doing that. I also went ahead and went back into the hair and just do like another outline with a slightly softer color so that not everything is like entirely soft. It's just like a certain part of it is. And then after that, I think for the most part, coloring wise, instead of doing line art right at the very start, I did basically the opposite. So I put my sketch at the very top, lower the opacity to make my thing as transparent as I can while I can still see my sketch, and then I blocked in shapes. I find sometimes this is easier, but it does become very messy, and like I said, in terms of like what I would consider other people, and including myself, consider like good pixel art is when it's very clean. I feel like very deliberate and has like very easy to read shapes and stuff that I feel like would make sense. A lot of my lines here, especially when I do this method, is very free, if anything. So I feel like everything doesn't have like a very good purpose. I'm just doing it by feeling, so checking to see if I like the shape or not, and then, you know, filling it in. I will use like as many colors as I want. Some of the form of it's kind of getting warped and deformed and not very clear or sharp, so it doesn't read perfectly. But you know, at this point, I'm just having fun working with the pixel art, so I'm not gonna mind too much. But as we kind of like sped through the drawing process, I'm kind of doing the little elements that I want to do for our little animation. So we're basically gonna do frame by frame, and I already separated his eyes from the rest of his face so that I can easily maneuver it and have him basically blink. I also had the mouth have, I think, 2 other frames so that he could open and close his mouth, and then as I'm shuffling him upwards and downwards, I'm making sure to also move like other objects so like things are moving at the same time. But this is the website that I ended up using, which is called EasyGIF, and it's exactly how I used to remember it. So basically you can upload all your frames. I had about 10 right here, and you can hit make a GIF. So you can get like a little preview on what it looks like. So this is kind of what it looked like right now. I know there's like some things missing and some things are a little wonky, but I didn't really mind. I'm just gonna go ahead, hit save. We're gonna save it to my computer, and once again go back to our Imgur. And luckily GIFs work on here, so we're gonna do the same thing. Right click, we're gonna copy the image address and then go back to our profile, and I'm gonna hit edit. We're gonna go back into where you can edit everything. We're gonna add in our image right here, add the link, and then we can change the size if we need to. But you can see like this is kind of what it looks like, and I think it's just like another cute thing you can add. There's one more thing that I potentially would like to add in the future. I'm not too sure if it's gonna be for this round, but I think it would be cute to add like little swaying or moving grass blades or plants at the very bottom, just to kind of like encapsulate everything. But because it's kind of like a floating background, I think it'd just be cute to add something to like kind of this dark void of my profile right now. But this is kind of what it looks like with like the little assets everywhere, and hopefully when Artfight actually starts up as well, we can add in our little borders for our images and our drawings and stuff, because I think that'll look very nice and aesthetic overall. But hopefully that's it for today's video. Hopefully you guys don't mind how scatterbrained I am, and I'll talk to you guys next time in the next video. Bye!